One of the things that sometimes goes awry, is that the risk management professionals who tend not to be lawyers will assume responsibility for things like legal risk, which often requires the formation of a legal conclusion. And the difficulty is that they may not consult to the extent they should with the lawyers. A second order of concern relates to trying to force fit the lawyers into a particular line of defense. And the difficulty there relates to the fact that lawyers will move from one line of defense to another line of defense depending on the function that they're performing. And another difficulty relates to the fact that there are some functions performed by lawyers that don't fit into any one of the three lines of defense. And so the framework is not fully adaptable to what lawyers do as risk managers. Today's environment is an environment that's heavily charged with misconduct risk. And so you see institutions getting into trouble because their people have violated some kind of rule or regulation or law. So we've moved from an environment during the global financial crisis that was heavily focused on financial and market risks to an environment that's much more focused on misconduct. And we see a whole array of significant cases brought against financial institutions principally, and bringing in very, very sizable fines. I don't foresee, at least looking into my crystal ball, an end to the era of misconduct risk. The one story that I shared at the end of the program concerned a question that David Lawrence asked about the 9/11 report. And the 9/11 report, to me, underscores one of the perennial problems of effective risk management, and that is trying to imagine the problem that we're going to see in the future. And as the 9/11 report concluded, one of the problems that we had as we approached 9/11 was a failure to imagine the terrorist attacks that we faced on that day. And this led me to share a true story from my experience at the Federal Reserve, where on September 12th of 2001, we needed to, for the first time in our 80-year history, abandon our historic landmark building at 33 Liberty Street. And we had to abandon the building because of a belief that the building known as One Liberty Plaza was going to collapse and crush the Federal Reserve Bank building. So we abandoned the building, and we've got the 100 or so people who were there at the time out of the building. I was the last person to leave. I pulled the door closed. I went to lock the door, and to my chagrin, I realized that the only way to lock the door was from the inside. The cylinder that locked the door lock was activated only from inside. And I shared this story first because it was not a great position for me to be in personally, to be the person who, for the first time in 80 years, abandoned the Federal Reserve's historic building and left the door open, but also to underscore the point that even in this particular instance, we had failed to imagine what we were going to face, and that is a situation where you had to abandon your building. The anticipated threat was bad guys coming to steal the gold, barring the door, keeping the bad guys out. Again, that was what was imagined. Never did anyone imagine a terrorist attack from the sky.